Hello and welcome to OpenCV Live. My name is Dr. Satya Malik. I'm the CEO of OpenCV.org. And on today's show, we have Chek Ting Ho and Jody Burchell from JetBrains. And as you know that JetBrains produces PyCharm, and PyCharm is the official IDE of OpenCV Python library. So we are so excited to have both of them on this show. We are going to this is a tutorial kind of show where we are going to train a CNN classifier using PyCharm IDE, and we'll also get a sneak peek into Junie, which is the agentic AI from JetBrains. So we are very excited about this. But before we go on to the show, let me introduce you to Phil Nelson, who is the Director of Content and Creative at OpenCV. He produces the show, and if anything goes wrong, it's his fault. Hi, Phil.
Yes, good morning out there, everybody. It's me, it's that PHI-LLIP. I am your co-host with the co-most, the second banana who's second to none. I'm also your plus one and only. It's Mr. Nelson if you're nasty, but you, my dear friends, can call me Phil. I'm here to remind you of a few things that we do on every single episode of this here program called OpenCV Live, the first of which is a giveaway to you in the audience. Later on in the episode, we will be giving away exactly one OpenCV University course to a lucky winner. I will ask a trivia question in about 40 minutes or so, and the first person to answer that question correctly in the Zoom chat will win the OpenCV University course of their choosing. You can see what courses are on offer by going to opencv.org/university. We're also taking questions from you in the audience, and we will do our best to answer them, as the late great Satoru Iwata would say, directly. So please use the Zoom Q&A button at the bottom of the screen if you're watching on Zoom. It helps us organize the questions a little better. Or if you're watching elsewhere on YouTube, on LinkedIn, just use the chat system over there, and we will do our best to answer those questions as they come in. I will be monitoring those chats, so ask away. Before we get started proper with the show, though, there's a little bit of business we got to take care of here at the top of the show. Did you know that OpenCV is a nonprofit organization that distributes an open source library that you can use absolutely for free? And as such, we need your support. Satya, you want to tell the folks a little bit about how they can help OpenCV?
Yes, so OpenCV, you can support it at many different levels. For example, if you are employed with a large company, please ask your manager. They usually have a budget for open source stuff. And if they can become a member or a partner organization, like we have gold membership, silver membership, and bronze membership, and they come with their own benefits. And PyCharm is also our silver member. So we are very, very excited. So these are the kinds of companies who actually support us. And we are very, thankful for that support. And you can get it done through your organization as well. If you want to donate individually, we have several options. You can go to opencv.org/support, and then you have the option of donating through PayPal, Stripe, and in addition to that, you also have the option to donate through GitHub. If you go to our GitHub repository, you will have this option. And because the numbers on GitHub are so small, we like to individually call them out. Phil, do you want to do the honors?
Yes, absolutely. We've got 14 current sponsors on the GitHub. You can support OpenCV on GitHub by going to github.com/sponsors/OpenCV. Shout out to Kostub. Shout out to ecosystems. The concept of ecosystems supports us, Satya. We've got Runjia. We've got DJ Greenwood, been there a while. We've got Ruda's Laboratories. Thanks so much, folks. Tala Hussein. We've got Forodo. Forodo. It's a new one. Silent Wolf, 27. RoboFlow, that sounds familiar. We've got Alexander Ismailov. We've got Nick Libertini. We've got Blue Jay, cute little Blue Jay, possibly from Toronto. We got Jesus Anaya, and we've got Victor Vedavato. Thanks so much for your support, everybody, on GitHub. We've also got t-shirts. We've got t-shirts, buttons, pins, NPR-style tote bags. Dress up your dog. You know you want to. Dress up your dog and send it to me. We would love to see a photograph of your dog or cat wearing their OpenCV bandana. And if you send it to me, I will show it on the show. I threaten to do it every week. Nobody sends me pictures of their pets. Do it. We've got the OpenCV logo. We've got I love OpenCV in English, Spanish, and simplified Chinese. We've also got the Import CV2 shirt. It's all you really need, folks. Also, we've got snapback caps, we got hoodies, we got all that stuff. Keep yourself warm, cover your fragile human body with open source by supporting OpenCV. We've also got a couple more things here in the hopper right now on OpenCV. We're doing a bunch of stuff right now. Satya, do you want to tell them a little bit about the bin picking challenge for a moment or so while I bring up the screen share again?
Yeah, so OpenCV has partnered with Intrinsic to bring you OpenCV, the bin picking challenge. And the idea is that we are creating and we are training a model to pick industrial parts. And there are $60,000 in prizes. So please you can still join the competition. It's not over yet, and there is still a lot of time left. So please go to bpc.opencv.org and sign up for this competition.
Yeah, let's take a look at the leaderboard here. We've got, we've got 17 teams up on the board.
Right. So, and then in addition to that, we are doing our first we are doing our first live conference, which is in collaboration with SID at Display Week. This happens on May 12th, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll have several impressive speakers. We'll also, I'll be there. I'll be giving a tutorial in this event as well, just a day before. So please sign up for this. It will help us. So this is the first time we are doing it, and the success of this will determine whether we continue doing it. So if you are in the San Jose area, especially if you are actually participating in Display Week, please sign up for this event as well. So, and the final thing is...
That's right. The OpenCV SID Conference on Computer Vision and AI is a full day of talks from OpenCV members and partners, as well as industry luminaries. We've got folks from Tilt 5 and Alphabet portfolio companies, and we're working on a couple of more surprises before the thing actually happens this May 12th. So please support OpenCV, grab a ticket, come say hi. We'll also have a pretty sweet little pavilion booth there at the exhibit hall with stickers from all of our members and stuff like that. So yeah, please. And if you're a company not just in the Bay Area, but anywhere. We also have sponsorships available for this first ever event. It's a unique opportunity to really bring your company to a whole new set of eyeballs and show that you support open source. So if you are interested in that, please send an email to phil@opencv.org. I'm easy to get at.
And the final thing is we'll also be present at the Embedded Vision Summit this year. That is May 20th to I think 23rd. And Embedded Vision Summit, I'm also giving a tutorial on vision language models. So if you are around, please sign up for that tutorial. It will be a blast.
Yes, that's May 20th and 22nd here in Santa Clara, California at the hallowed Santa Clara Convention Center. In the shadow of the Levi's Stadium. I know it very, very well. I feel like I've spent more time at that convention center than probably any other in my life at this point because of the augmented world expos there, Embedded Vision Summit, like all of these sorts of things. So yes, please check out Embedded Vision Summit. We will also have a booth there and some stickers, some buttons, some exclusive convention stuff. So come find something to adorn your laptop or backpack or small child with.
All right. Now we are ready. So please, check in, Jody. I know that you introduced yourself, but that was before we officially started the webinar. So please introduce yourself one more time, a little background, and then we can start the presentation and the tutorial.
Yeah, sure. So hello, I'm Chuck, and I am the AI developer advocate in JetBrains. And recently I'm working a lot with Junie, and it's a very, very neat tool. And I'm glad that today got a little bit of time to show you how it can actually do something that is with image classification. But before I go on, I would pass the mic to Jody.
So hi, I'm Jody. So I am the data science developer advocate at JetBrains. So I am a data scientist by training. Previous to that, I had an academic background, like many people in our area. And yeah, I'm also super excited to sort of show a bit more about computer vision and what our AI assistant can do.
Yeah, so Jody, what we have today, like in our bags?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a image classification model with a classic problem. Is the image a sloth or a chocolate croissant?
Oh wait,
Right?
I think we are doing poodle versus fried chicken.
Oh no, I presented sloth versus chocolate croissant.
Oh, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I think what we could do is to ask Junie quickly make a demo with the, poodle versus fried chicken. So, okay, let's give it a try, shall we?
All right, so
So
let's
let's see.
let's share your screen,
Mhm.
Chook, and see how we get started with Junie. And then while
Did you
Junie
two
Okay,
put this together before the show?
we
okay.
did.
I
We have a
I
little
do
sketch.
prepare all this very cute puppy image and also very yummy fried chicken. I hope you're not too
Oh,
hungry because like
yeah. Don't
this looks
confuse
so
between the
yummy.
two. Don't swap
Yeah,
out.
so but we want to, see how we can distinguish them. So maybe I would ask Junie to do this. So this is Junie. This is just like a window you can open if you have PyCharm and have Junie plugin. So right now we are in early access, but we will be launching it to the public very soon. So let's ask what should I ask Junie to do? Right. Okay. So create a Jupyter notebook. We all love Jupyter notebook, right?
Mhm.
To the do image classification. I hope I'm spelling correctly. I'm, very bad at typing.
You're doing great.
Saying maybe PyTorch.
Hmm.
Does it look good to everybody? Okay,
Makes
we'll
sense so
see.
far.
We'll see what Junie would do. So right now you see like after you press enter, you'll see that Junie will be understanding your prompt. So it's now like, come up with a plan. So after talking with the LLM, it will come up with a plan. It will also carry out some, terminal like action as well. But for security, you can actually ask Junie every time if there's like some, action with your terminal, you need to ask for your approval first. But right now, I switched that off because I trust Junie. I have, used it for quite a long time, but option is yours. But yeah, it will take a while. So maybe while we are waiting for Junie to do it, let's see what Jody has prepared for us.
All right, so I can show my boring demo of sloth versus croissant, I guess. Uh, first things first, always like to acknowledge where I got the data. So Chook scraped her data. I was a little bit lazy and I used this repo. So big thank you to the person who created this data, another Australian I can actually see. So first things first, let's actually talk a little bit about what AI Assistant is. So AI Assistant and Junie are two additional subscriptions on top of PyCharm. So just to make that clear, you can go to the JetBrains/AI landing page to find out more about that. And Junie at the moment has its own landing page. And as Chook said, is currently in early access, but you can join the waitlist. So just a bit of an FYI, and we can share those links and Phil can share those. Or do you want me to share them now, Phil? Up to you.
Go ahead and drop them. Go ahead and drop them in there now, and I'll put them in the show notes.
All right, all right. Let me see how coordinated I can be. Oh my God. Okay, let's go back to here. Yay. All right, so we have JetBrains AI, and here is the Junie EAP. The problem with demoing against Junie is like so exciting that, it's like much more like sexy. Oh, wait a minute. I think I stopped sharing. I'm going like
No,
full
you're still
length.
sharing.
No,
You're good.
you're sharing.
Perfect. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So let's pop over to PyCharm. So what I kind of want to show is how you might tackle a problem that a lot of us come across pretty regularly. So instead of writing out the full CNN and going through all of the code bit by bit, what I'd prefer to do is imagine a scenario.
As your croissant goes stale, obviously.
As my croissant goes stale. I know, we want to eat it or, pat the sloth. Again,
Yes.
let's not get them confused.
I'm very anxious about this.
Before
I know,
you
and it's
pick up
okay.
something from your plate, make sure that it is the croissant.
Yes. You will see this classifier turned out pretty well for a training set of original training set of 80 something. So I think we're safe. But yeah, basically, I think a common scenario that a lot of us come across is you inherit some sort of piece of code that someone else wrote. And I will admit, I'm not great at reading code because I'm a data scientist. I'm used to just writing my own code and having to deal with my own code. But, let's say you want to learn something new. So you download someone's project from GitHub, maybe one of, OpenCV University's excellent tutorials. Or maybe you are working as a data scientist and you've inherited someone's project and you don't know what they've done with the code. So let's actually make this a little bit bigger. Because right now it's a little bit small. We'll jack that up to 125.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to be doing, as we said, is an image classification project using sloth versus chocolate croissant. And we're going to be using a convolutional neural net. This is an absolute classic kind of core deep learning type of model for computer vision. So I guess before we start, Satya, do you want to explain what a CNN is, or do you want me to explain?
I can explain.
Yeah.
So, the way the history goes is that first we had neural networks, right? Neural networks, basically, people figured out that if you have what is called an input layer, you have, the input layer could be anything like an image or sound or anything. Think about it as a vector of numbers, and you have an output, and the output could be anything like in classification. The output is a one hot encoded, let's say you have 2 or 3 different things. For cat, you could have 100 as the output, and for dog, you could have 010, etc. And in between that, you could have several connections, right? You could have different neurons which are all connected. Now, the problem with this neural network was that it for images, it was terrible because every pixel needed to be connected in the input layer, and so it blew up the number of parameters needed to classify image or do anything with images. It just blew up. So the idea of convolutional neural networks was that some of these weights would be shared. And so the number of features decreased quite substantially. And it was also able to extract interesting features automatically, right? So that is the idea of convolutional neural networks. Before that, image analysis used to be done using handcrafted features where somebody came up with, designed a feature, right? Like you might have heard about something like a hog feature, or even, the Viola and Jones hog cascades. And those were handcrafted features. And that is why some features worked well for face detection, but they did not work well for pedestrian detection. We had another set of features. With convolutional neural networks, you did not need to do handcrafting of these features. You learn these features on the fly from the data itself. And that's what convolutional neural networks are.
And they sort of became really big. It was 2016, right, with AlexNet?
2012.
2012. Yeah. So they're actually not that old a model, but obviously they're not the current cutting edge generation, but they're still used a lot because they are very powerful and they can do a lot with, as you'll see, not that much data. So just to show here.
I was just having the sad realization that much of our audience were still in nappies at that time.
Don't think about it.
I'll just be over here drinking my coffee.
That coffee you need to keep you awake because we're all old now. But just to kind of show you this code here, this is how you would generally code up a CNN in PyTorch. So you have these convolutional layers. They're the ones that extract features. And then you have these pooling layers, and they're used to kind of reduce the dimension of the space, because a lot of, it's pixel by pixel. A lot of the features don't have any information, and you sort of see, you do multiple of these, and that's the structure of your CNN. And basically, layer by layer, it starts extracting more and more complex features. So they're super interesting. I actually wrote a blog post about them, and I'd love you to point you to it, but my blog is down at the moment, and I don't know what's wrong with it. So, if you have interest in like two weeks when I manage to fix that, we can come back to it. But let's now jump into
One quick
AI
interruption again from me. Sorry, Jody. Can you bump up your font size just a bit? It's a little bit blurry on the screen share on our services.
Of course I can. I think last time I actually had it at 150 or 175. So let's see how we go. Yeah. Is that better?
Yes, that looks much nicer to me. Thank you.
Cool. Perfect. No problem. Yeah, it was one thing I forgot to do because I haven't done a live stream since the last time we talked to each other.
It's always something.
It's always something. All right. So we have this very, very dense, very poorly documented project on how to classify a sloth versus a croissant. So where do we start? We're a bit confused, right? And I'm going to say, again, this is a situation I've had many times. And I'm like, what does this do? And I painfully go through the code. You can see OpenCV is doing something here. There's some images getting displayed, but everything's not particularly clear. So let's start with AI Assistant. So if we duck over here to this little galaxy symbol, those of you who have installed PyCharm will know that this is now a built-in tool window. And we can see that we have here this AI chat, and it's actually automatically already attached the current file we're working with. So this means that we can actually ask detailed information about all of the objects that are defined within this notebook. So that is already pretty cool. It's really, really context aware. It doesn't just take into account the current file. It takes into account like pretty much everything that's in the project that's indexed as part of the PyCharm reading in the project. But we use machine learning models under the hood to work out which context is likely to be the most relevant for a given query. So you can also see that we use a variety of different providers. And a question we get all the time, because you can see we're working with OpenCV, we're working with Google, we're working with Anthropic here, is what happens to my data? You're obviously sending it off my machine. Yes, we are. We're sending it to a service called JetBrains AI, but we have really strict agreements with these third-party providers. And the only way that they're allowed to use the data is for security monitoring, like basically to check, is the rate of API requests coming in natural? Otherwise, maybe someone's hijacked the API calls. They're not allowed to store your data. They're not allowed to use it for training. It's purely a process the transaction and send it back. And just as an FYI, if you're using something like ChatGPT under your private license, please be very careful about what you put into that chat, because the agreement you have as a private user is a bit more liberal on their side as to what they can do with the data, just as a little AI safety note there.
Nobody is negotiating on our behalf, right?
No, sadly not. But if you go through a third-party tool like AI Assistants, JetBrains done that legwork for you. So we were very careful about that. Yeah.
Or you could just download 20 gigs of DeepSeek.
You could also do that. And this is also an option. We could get into that. I have opinions, but we're on a computer vision.
We'll talk about that
webinar, not LLMs. Yes. So here is the chat. As you can see, as I've said, it's very context aware. So one of the things we could do is we can see OpenCVs being used. So I could ask, how is this notebook using OpenCV? I want to understand how it's being used. So basically, this will feel very familiar if you're used to using LLMs. This is a very ChatGPT kind of answer because we're using ChatGPT. But basically, it tells us it's using it to read in the data. It's using it to extract the image dimensions and class information. It's using it to handle grayscale, and it's using it for data preparation. So, of course, we can ask follow-up questions. So we could say, like, why do you need the image dimensions? I don't understand. I'm new to computer vision, so I don't really understand this. And it can tell you the reason why is because you generally need to understand that the images have to be the same size for CNNs. And so it's going to tell us it needs a fixed size input. So this is really helpful if essentially like you're picking up something you're really not familiar with, and it can start orientating you really quickly. And because it's quite context aware, you don't need to do a lot of like, I need this file, I need you to explain this. Okay, so that's AI chat. I think that's pretty, so far so regular for ChatGPT users or Anthropic users. But we can go a little bit more fine-grained, and we can start using AI directly within the notebook. And so what class do I want to use for
Really,
this?
I have a quick question. So
Go
here,
ahead.
we are not using, we do not need a private license once we enroll in this, right? When once we get a license from you guys, we do not
No,
need. So there's no connection to be made. All these LLMs are available in the interface itself. It's not like you have
exactly.
to. Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Super slick.
Yeah, it's really smooth actually, and it's actually quite fun because if you do have a preference for a particular provider, they're now there, all of them. So
Yeah.
that's really good. And you probably saw as well, let me open the chat. We have the ability to connect to other projects like LM Studio and Olama. So you're not just restricted to using these providers.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely.
Olama, a huge time saver if you're running anything locally. Cannot recommend it enough.
It is a very beefy little model. Yes. So next. Let's go down to this gnarly looking OpenCV transform class. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not familiar with computer vision, you'd be like, okay, why are we transforming images? Like, I just want to build a classifier, right?
Yeah.
So we can hit Alt Enter and bring up the AI Actions context menu. And we can do a whole bunch of stuff here directly within the notebook. So we can explain code, we can do refactorings, find problems. We can open a chat, which has the selected code and start asking questions about it. Write documentation, unit tests, generate code directly within the notebook. We can convert the file to another language, or we can convert from another language to Python. And we can also create our own custom prompts. So basically, if there's any actions that you're doing really commonly, you can basically get it to add this to your prompt library and it will save it, and you can build that up over time. But let's go back to the AI actions. And what we're going to do is get it to explain this. And you can see, again, it will try to detect the most relevant scope for you. You can even get it to explain the whole file if you like. But we're just going to get it to explain just this class. And you can see that what it's telling us is that basically, it's having a little think, going through each of the different methods, but it tells us also that it is basically to apply random transformations to images. And it tells us in detail what it does. So if we need that, that's useful. But we might be like, why do I need to transform images?
Yeah.
And it can also explain this. So if you are a newbie who is trying to learn new computer vision models, this is such a gentle way of working with the code. So you can be learning the code, seeing how these things are done. Like you saw that I showed you earlier, this is how a convolutional neural network is set up. You can see it in the code. It helps you learn. But it's also, it's not going to keep you guessing. It also helps you understand the why. And so one thing that I've always said about LLMs is they do hallucinate, so you have to be careful. But for things like this that have good documentation and they have good knowledge about them, they do tend to be very good at being good tutors, interactive tutors. So yeah, it tells us that image transformation is required in order to augment the data. And this is very important in our project in particular, because we have like 80 examples for training.
Right.
So we definitely need that. All right, so I'm going to have a little break here and maybe let's check in on how you're going, Chook, with Junie. How's Junie chugging along? Ready to show us something?
So yeah, I can share something. Oop,
Yeah.
you can hand the driving wheel back to me.
How do I do that?
She should be able
You
to
just
take
stop
over there.
And shit.
Yeah, I think you forcibly take over.
I
Is it
had
gonna
to
work?
I had to
Oh.
enable that setting, but you should be able to
Okay.
take over now. We should be able to do multiple.
Oh.
Or I can just force Jody to stop. Moohoo ha ha ha.
You do it, kick me out. Oh no, stop
Right.
sharing. Oh no, I just
Done.
saw the button and you did it.
Okay, so this is me now. This is me now. So, so I have to report back that Junie was a bit naughty because it doesn't use OpenCV. So I have to use a follow-up prompt to tell Junie to use OpenCV in this amazing project instead. So you can see I have, added a follow-up prompt. It has fixed it for me. So you can see now the project is using import CV2. We all love that.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And so right now it's still training the model, but you can see these other training data. So the notebook looks decent, but we are still kind of in training. So yeah, it's taking a while. So also originally give me like 50 epochs to train, which I don't think is necessary. So I changed it to 5. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. If Jody have more things to show, and then we'll come back to check in on it after.
I still
just
definitely have
it
more.
wrote the code and it started training automatically, and right?
No, so with Jupyter Notebook, so after generating the Jupyter Notebook, you will have to start running the notebook yourself.
Got it.
That's what it is right now, but in the future, whether there will be a new feature, I don't know.
Yeah, because the idea of agentic AI is that you give it a series of tasks. It figures out that, okay, I need to do this, 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 and then it will finally give you the output, right? So
Yeah, for some pure Python code, sometimes Junie will run it to verify the correctness and stuff. But for Jupyter Notebook, as of now, it will generate the notebook, but you have to run it yourself. Yeah.
got it. All right.
Okay, let's head back to Jody.
Cool. Now that I have worked out how to share my screen. Okay, so there's some other things we can do. So we've already had a bit of an exploration of the code. We've seen how we can use this to get a bit of an idea of what's going on. But let's maybe see if we can improve the explainability of the code a bit more. So let's head down to, what did I want to do? I wanted to go to the train. Sorry, I had a little plan for how I was going to do this one. So we can see this is obviously, again, a very dense function. There's a lot going on here, but it's not very well documented. We don't really know what's going on. So obviously in Python, one of the most common ways that we would do documentation is to write a docstring. So we can actually get AI assistant to take that full function as a piece of code, translate it to natural language and then put that in a docstring format. I use this actually all the time because I hate writing docstrings, but they're important. And then obviously, don't take anything from an LLM at face value. Make sure you check it. I usually will end up...
Please, please read what it outputs, please.
Please. I think I saw a question in the chat about how accurate the outputs are, especially when the code is maybe a bit more obscure. So full kind of disclosure, you're still dealing with an LLM. There's no magic here. The more training data that the LLM has had that is similar to the problem you're dealing with, the better it will perform, because LLMs just do pattern matching. So LLMs do tend to work extremely well for Python. I will say one of the reasons I chose a CNN is because there's plenty of training data. So this is definitely something it will work really well for. If you're dealing with super, super cutting edge computer vision models or some sort of library that really hasn't been around for long, it may struggle a bit more to explain, and it will definitely struggle to generate code that's accurate. But if you're dealing with something that's more kind of business as usual, it's fairly typical Python code, or it's similar to fairly typical Python code, it's going to do a good job. So, but again, check everything. They hallucinate. Even the state-of-the-art models are still hallucinating at least 30% of the time. So there's no silver bullet here. Yeah. And so we can do this. And then another way we can add documentation is something I love, which is adding type annotations. So for those of you who are not aware, within Python, type annotations are not compulsory, but you can add them. And they have some benefits for both performance, but also for increasing the interpretability of the code. So you can see here, this is so much clearer.
Yeah.
I love, yeah. Go ahead, Satya.
No, I really love this feature. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, everybody wants to do this, but nobody does it, right? And we don't have to. That's the best thing, right? Here, you write code as you can write lousy code as you are used to writing because you're lazy, but then
Hey, speak
it
for
can be
yourself,
made
buddy.
professional. Right.
Now,
No, I
I
think
do want to point out though, for the young ones out there, Larry Wall in his seminal book on Perl discussed the three virtues of the programmer. These virtues are laziness, impatience, and hubris. And if you follow these three things and keep them in your heart, you will be a successful software engineer.
that's right.
Mhm. I will also say this tends to work pretty well if it's a well-documented package. So it's not like a super complex task we're asking the LLM to do, but it's pretty tedious to do yourself as a human. So this is perfect for outsourcing. Sometimes it does get creative and it just adds defaults. So again, just double check those. But, again, we're doing pattern matching. Cool. And so there's probably just a couple more things I wanted to show because I don't want to show every feature, right? Like I don't want this to be a product demo. I want this to be more like how you would organically use the product. I've already shown you can do refactoring. That's pretty, straightforward. You can do code improvements. You can actually generate code within the notebook. So we'll just go into a new cell. So we want to, where is that? Generate code. We can ask it to, I don't know, write me a function that adds two numbers. Sorry, my creativity is hit a wall because it's almost 6 p.m. here in Germany. But it's going to have a little think. You can see it's having a think up there and it's going to spit us out some code. Oh no, this was Brave Live demo. This normally works really smoothly. Where did it go?
Yeah,
Right.
love that
Like
live demo failure.
brave live
Soaking it.
demo.
Live demo God is not smiling
Let's
on
try
us
it.
today.
I gave it just like the simplest thing as well, and it's just decided to have a little bit of a strop. Okay, I can see that this feature is not having a good day. So let's oh my God, it's just
Is it
disappeared.
written somewhere?
I'm wondering. I think it's not because otherwise it would be allowing me to accept or generate.
Oh,
Well, that was an exciting failure. I promise I practiced this one just before I came in and yeah, didn't work, but that's
Maybe
fine.
accept it
Mm,
first and then try again, maybe. Hmm.
It's not letting me accept. That's the
Oh,
problem.
okay. So it just refused to work.
It just refused to work. It's gone on
Yeah.
strike.
Well, do you want to
Um,
have a look at how Junie's doing for now?
that's a good idea. Let's pop over to Junie and hope it's
Okay,
doing
let's
slightly
go
better
back to
than this
Junie.
feature.
Let's hope Junie is a little bit more,
Cooperative.
cooperative today.
All right,
Okay,
stop
so
sharing.
so this is so Junie have finished. Well, I would say like not Junie, but like the Jupyter Notebook has finished working. I have tremendously cut the epochs because like we don't have all day, so I just like cut the training. It seems like, and also because we don't have a lot of image, actually, we have like less than 100 for each
yeah.
classes. So, it seems that it's kind of like, reach quite a high accuracy quite quickly. It may not generalize very well in real life situation, but then you have to have more data to train with. Anyway, so yeah, this graph also doesn't look very nice because we only have 5 epochs. But if we look at the confusion matrix, it seems like, oh my God, it's doing a great job within this data set. And also you can see that like it do kind of figured out this is a very cute like poodle puppy. Yeah, I think this is a common problem. A lot of user
I don't
of
know whether humans can tell what it is.
yeah, like this is like, but the computer can figure it out. It's quite cool. And then we also have fried chicken, even a fried chicken within a burger.
Yeah.
That it works. So, yeah, again, like this is just a fun exercise. If you want to, a image classification model to perform well, you probably need to have more image than what I have right now. And right now, probably this model has been overfit and it doesn't generalize well if we use it for a new image. But yeah. So I can show that this is a very decent Jupyter notebook. It still have some flaws. For example, it just, try to train like with 50 epochs, which is like totally like unnecessary. I think it's just, because a lot of these LLM model is trained with something that is more generic. So maybe a lot of these image classification cases, there will be more data, and also it will be, having more epochs to train. That's why Junie made the decision to use 50 epochs. So you may still, you still have to go into it and look at the code and fine tune it yourself. Or you can ask Julie to fine tune it like before when I see that it's not using OpenCV, which is like, nope, I want to use OpenCV. Then you can tell Junie to change it. It will also update the requirements.txt. You may have to, do pip install again just to make sure you have all the dependencies. But yeah, so Junie is kind of like, your I would say like, rubber duck or, your friend or I don't know who your coding buddy that, you can kind of share the work. So it can save you some time while Junie is generating this notebook. Like imagine how much time you have to spend to create this notebook, right? You have to go to find some example and then maybe change it to your use case. So yeah, Junie can save you a lot of time, but at the end of the day, you still have to look at the code yourself to fine tune it, look at, customize to your liking, also test it out yourself as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to show in this fried chicken versus poodle use case. Yeah.
And
I was
can
hoping
also,
the poodle would have to fight the fried chicken.
Yeah, the poodle will, just take the fried chicken and then two become one.
Talk about a deep cut. I haven't heard that song in a grip.
Yeah.
I think we also had a question about Junie being JetBrains' in-house LLM model. Just to clarify, and feel free to jump in, Chuck. So I think Jorge actually answered it below, but Junie is an agentic process that uses the LLM providers that we're partnering with. So we actually do have an in-house model, which is Melum, but Melum is specifically language models for completing code. So it's not a generalist LLM. Junie is basically a use of LLMs in a way that's agentic, as in it's multiple steps that are being checked and verified, and like the decision making is essentially being made by the LLM. I don't want to say they make decisions, they can't think, but it's sort of working out multiple problem solving steps. So did you want to jump in with any other?
Yeah, so for this version of Junie, so what Jody mentioned is correct. And for this version of Junie that I'm showing today is using the Claude model. So it's one of the, LLM provided by Anthropic. I know it's like very popular. It's used by many other applications as well. So yeah, so it's a AI coding agent. Of course, it needs to communicate with an LLM to work, but it also uses not just the LLM, right? It also uses a lot of JetBrains features that, like, for example, in PyCharm, we have all this indexing within the IDE. So Junie will also use that to its advantage to understand what's going on in your project. So to perceive the information it needs to communicate with the LLM. So yeah, so that's why it's quite good working inside PyCharm and other JetBrains IDEs.
Great.
So I had two more features to show, and I promise they will work.
We will, if we could just, I'll butt in for one moment here. Since we got
Sure.
about 10 minutes before the hour, we're going to do our trivia giveaway, and then we'll come back for the rest of your demos. So On this, Satya, what do you think? Should we, normally we give away an OpenCV course. I think we have PyCharm licenses we can give away though. Should we give away one PyCharm Pro 6-month license? Does that sound good?
Yes. Yes,
All right,
let's
let's
do
do
that.
that. Okay, so folks, if you are joining us for the first time, or if you just need a little reminder, one of the things we do on this show is give away something to you absolutely free. I'm going to ask a trivia question based on today's presentation from our illustrious guests, and the very first person to answer that question correctly in the Zoom chat with their message settings set to everyone, not hosts and panelists, this is very important, they will win a 6-month PyCharm license, PyCharm Pro license. So you can use all of this cool stuff we've been talking about today. If you have won in the last couple of months, please do not answer and give someone else a chance to win. So earlier in the show, we talked a bit about some of the seminal early works on CNN, and one of those models was called AlexNet. It was submitted to the ImageNet Large Scale Visual Recognition Challenge in what year?
Oh, Amit got it.
Amit, man, I thought I had you. I thought I had you, but no, we've our trivia winner here is Amit Agarwal, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
The answer we were
That's
looking for
really
was
quick.
2012. That was September 2012. I know, check, they're in my head. It's a
Wow.
problem. I'm gonna have to hire someone else to start writing these trivia questions in advance because they know.
They-
So they know somehow.
they know.
So
In fact, they may
I
be
think
going to an LLM. What question is Phil going to ask today?
maybe they've trained an LLM on Phil stuff. It's possible. It's totally possible. But congratulations, Amit. Please send one email to phil@opencv.org, and we will make sure that you get your free 6-month PyCharm Pro promo code.
It's
Yes.
funny, people already had typed out several answers, and even before your question was finished, people said AlexNet, right? And Jorge was saying Fefe. He had that also.
This is why I was trying to do you notice that I mentioned several facts that I knew people were gonna think was the answer to the question, to try to throw them off. It was a little hip fake there, but
Yeah.
didn't work.
Maybe next time you can ask the guest to prepare the question, so it's harder to predict.
Oh, that would be
It's
good.
possible. It's possible. I think we may have to move to this new system because the community has very much burrowed themselves into my prefrontal cortex.
By the way, there's an amazing book. Feifei Lee has written this book. Unfortunately, I cannot remember the name of the book. I've read it, but just check Feifei Lee book. And that actually documents not only her life's journey, but also this ImageNet specifically, right? How difficult it was to get this thing up and going, because at that time, people just did not believe. I mean, from a young professor who did not have tenure at that time to take this risk in her career, I mean, that is just amazing. And she's, the struggles she went through, it is just mind blowing, right?
Yes,
And
the book is called The Worlds I See by
Yeah.
Dr. Feifei Lee. It came out 2003. In fact, recommended by former President Barack Obama.
Oh, nice. Yes. I really like that book. Check it out.
We're going to have to start a book club in addition to our movie club. Also, that reminds me, we've gone an entire episode without me mentioning the 1995 Catherine Bigelow movie, Strange Days. So there we go. Jody, please continue. Take this microphone away from me.
I feel bad. Like you've got like a whole patter going on. So, all
what I
right,
do.
cool. So, very quick, 2 additional features. So, basically, I am going to run this cell. There's an error, but this one's deliberate.
Okay.
You sneaky so-and-so.
So, basically, the error is telling us module torch has no attribute saves. Now, I think this is kind of an obvious error, right? There's a typo, but there are sometimes errors that are more obscure, or if you're starting with Python or you're starting with a new package, sometimes the error messages are not so great. There have been improvements in the later versions of Python, but I'm on 3.12, so maybe I've only got myself to blame. Anyway, we go to explain with AI, and it will basically tell us, hey, there's a typo, mate. You need to fix it. And it tells us exactly how to fix it. And this is actually a really helpful feature. I found, again, I'm maybe farming too much of my brain out to this one. I probably should try to solve more of these myself, but it's really great, especially if you're stuck on something. Like, I just don't understand what you're saying. Like, it has this attribute. I know it does. So that's very helpful. And then the final is when we come to actually committing things to GitHub or committing them to Git. So basically, we might want to commit these two files that are new. Writing commit messages is as boring as writing documentation. So we can farm that out
Oh,
to
nice.
AI. Yeah, I really like this.
Oh, this is
So-
really nice. The changes
So
you made?
yeah. So what it does, it's so cool. Under the hood, what it's doing is it's taking the diff,
Sure.
and it's translating into natural language. Sorry, I can't speak. So usually I just end up getting rid of the elaboration. The model tends to be very talkative, and I might modify this. But the really cool thing about this is you can actually go through and add things to your prompt. So you can actually, like, say you're working in mainly a German speaking team or an Urdu speaking team or a Mandarin speaking team, you can actually change it and be like, please make sure my
Right.
commit messages are in the natural language of my team. So this is actually one of my favorite features. And I think I've kind of shown you all my favorite features. And that's really AI Assistant and Junie. So just as a recap, if you head over to the two landing pages, they'll give you information on how to sign up to both of them and yeah, have fun. They're
Right.
quite fun to use.
I love,
time
yeah,
committed.
in the chat, Steve says, fixed some stuff in 37 different languages.
Can also translate looks good to
the-
me.
Yeah, we need to have the AIs write bad commit messages for us.
Oh, I mean that would be funny. Fix some stuff if it was not true. I've seen so many of those comments.
Miscellaneous changes.
Updated files.
Oh God, yeah, just, you know what? Just take me out back. Wow. Yes, software development jokes, folk. I hope y'all really appreciate that. So we've got a couple of minutes here for questions. Let's take a look at the question files here. I see Czech is already answering this one via text, but the question was, what software libraries were being used in today's demo?
You want to go ahead, Chuck?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know we have time to answer those questions, so I was already start typing. But so for both of our demo, we mainly use a lot of, very familiar like data science library, like, pandas, matplotlib, scikit-learn, of course, OpenCV that we all know and love. So for the neural network framework, we use PyTorch. I think both Jody and I prefer that over other frameworks. So yeah, that's the library that I used.
So I can move on to Bruce's question just because of time. Or sorry, am I hijacking your role,
Yeah,
Phil?
no, go for it. It's funny, I was just gonna say, Bruce Wright would like to know, is this PyCharm Pro or PyCharm Community Edition we've been seeing today?
Yeah, so as Chuck said, we were both using Pro. So AI Assistant is available within Community. Junie at the moment is only available within Pro.
If you're selected from the waitlist. Yeah.
If you're selected from the waitlist, yeah, please make sure you have a Pro license.
Makes sense to me. Over on our other chats here, we've got a couple more questions from the YouTube side. So there, folks have been asking a bit about more of the kind of day-to-day functional aspects of using these. So we saw this preview of Junie. Obviously, Jody and Czech, you've probably been using these tools longer than anybody because you're internal. You probably get the sneak peeks that you're not really willing to show. What has surprised you most about the time you've been able to play with these agentic AIs? I'll let Jody go ahead and answer first, please.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna admit I was such a cynic. Like I'm not an LLM hater. I worked with LLMs like for, I was playing with the early BERT models when they first came out. But I was sort of like, I am so tired of what has sort of felt like patching over the limitations of LLMs with more elaborate solutions. So to be honest, agentic kind of felt to me a bit like fixing a problem with the models that was a bit insurmountable. Then I played with Junie and I had to kind of eat my words because it's actually very good. It is a real time saver for templating projects. I would say it does tend towards writing really verbose code. But again, this is a known issue with LLMs. But as a template, it's great. And what is really helpful, I think, in particular, is that you're stuck with something. Like you're like, I know I need to change this library. I need to change from TensorFlow to PyTorch, but it's going to be so tedious. Fantastic for stuff like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Chil? You played with it a lot more than I have.
Yeah, I would say that before I started this job, I don't use a lot of AI product. I'm also like, started as a data scientist, so I kind of like, oh yeah, we got it, AI, just a very, advanced, well-trained model, or like, just all these big company have a lot of resources to train a super sophisticated model. But then when I started this job and start using AI assistants and Junie, I discovered that actually it's save a lot of time. It's like, when I started coding, I was just, like using very basic IDEs. I have to do everything myself. And now I think it's very hard to go back because I am so spoiled by all the convenience that PyCharm and all these like AI tools that is helping me out. And yeah, so I would say within JetBrains, we have a lot of developers and we are all very critical about like AI because we work with them every day. We like kind of very critical about it. But I think Junie really impressed a lot of us internally. So we are not saying it just because we work for JetBrains. It's just genuinely like people love it. So yeah.
I understand. Doc, have you gotten a chance to? I mean, we were using some AI agents to help us update the OpenCV membership docs a couple of weeks ago. Can you talk a little bit in a similar vein to what we just heard from them?
Yeah, I mean, so we have, we started using LLMs extensively across many different things, right? Not just for coding, even for, let's say we had 3 documents, right? The gold membership, silver membership, and bronze membership.
Yes, hypothetically, let's say that's what we had.
No, so this is an actual thing we did, right? And so there were some mistakes in the documents, and and there are 3 copies. They look about the same with numbers changed, right? So we decided, okay, we are going to put them on, give it to ChatGPT and say that find all the differences, right? And tell me, between these documents and find inconsistencies, right? So it did a very good job, except that it was actually looking at some old document, the 2023 document we had, which had many mistakes. It was pulling some of it from there as well. But once we fixed that, I think it did a very good job of comparing the 3 documents and saying that, okay, these are the inconsistencies between the documents, right? Sometimes even the wording, right? We want to use the same wording, like instead of saying OpenCV Live, we were saying OpenCV Webinar, something like that. So that consistency, right, which is tedious work, we don't like to do. Nobody wants to go and do that work. That is easily outsourceable, right? The same thing with my when my personal coding, I'm going to give a lot of tutorials this summer, spring and summer. So I used to get assistance from my team, but now it is more tedious to actually instruct my team to write the code for me. And so I end up writing most of the code myself. But even initially, when I first started using LLMs, I was asking my team to write the code, and then it was very annoying to, the comments, etc. They always, the code was good, but then the comments were sloppy, right? Because they did not actually, I could not convince them that the comments are important to write, right? I could not definitely convince them that you should be consistent in your how you write comments, right? If you're starting with don't start with a small case, right? At least it looks unprofessional. But those things, because they are not convinced that it is useful, they would keep making that mistake. Now I say that please don't write comments. I will do it myself, right? I'll get the LLMs to generate it for me, and then I'll go look through it myself, and that is easier. So yeah, so I think I have been extensively using LLMs for coding or even other work, and it's as long as you are ready to check what it outputs and don't treat it as an assistant who is not as good as you, right? But does a reasonable job, right? Then I think you'll go for. But if you are trying to make it code things that you yourself don't know, that is dangerous. That is dangerous. There is on Twitter we had this. There was a discussion. Somebody was very, somebody who doesn't even know coding. They were so happy that they created this application. Have you seen that Twitter thing?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And after that, there was some denial of service attack, which they could not handle. They were leaking passwords or something. I don't remember the details, but that's where it becomes tricky. I feel that you cannot outsource your thinking to LLMs yet, right? Maybe in the future, but it's a very tricky thing that you don't know coding at all. You don't know how to judge the work. It is almost that you got an assistant, right? You're managing a team of developers to do a piece of work, and you don't know how to judge their work, and then it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that, when I was sort of talking at the beginning about, maybe you want to learn from this project, maybe it's something you downloaded from GitHub.
Yeah.
Please also make sure you go and read like how CNNs work independently of that. Like, don't just treat this as the whole tutorial, because once you sort of, like I said, I'm starting to feel like I'm becoming lazier with things like debugging. And I think encouraging those habits right at the beginning when you're just learning, it's not a good thing. You won't sort of learn how to, really start kind of getting into the weeds and thinking deeply about stuff. And that's important with coding and machine learning and computer vision.
Absolutely.
I think,
right.
yeah, I'm
Go
more on
ahead,
like the
Chuck.
optimistic side of things. I think like, now all the developers don't have excuse to not write documentation and not write tests because I mean, like you have all these agents to help you, but at the same time, they are not 100% correct all the time. So you still have to learn the skills, like the code, like how to do all this, like image, classification, how CNN work, all this stuff. You still have to learn it. So when something doesn't come out all right, you have the knowledge to debug it or to find out what's wrong, because you can't just ask Junie to, hey, fix it. You have to tell Junie what's wrong so Junie can fix it for you. So yeah.
And there is
Yes,
this
and
streak.
I think there's one important point too, which is, responsibility, right? Like
Yeah.
if someone, like for example, if you're working with a team or building something with a friend or whatever, and something just completely stops working, or it's leaking passwords or something, right? And it's your responsibility to fix this. If someone asks you, why is it using this particular method, and you say, I don't know, you're pretty much screwed. Like you haven't actually done anything. Like, literally anybody can ask the LLM to write them code. You're not special, right? Like you can't outsource your thinking and reasoning to it. You have to actually know why you are doing stuff still. It's very important. So yes, Satya, what was that?
Yeah, actually, two things. First of all, Judy was mentioning that you have to put in the effort. There's this Greek phrase called pathimata mathemata, which means that learning through pain and suffering, right? Unless no, I actually believe that
You
unless
gotta suffer.
you
Yeah.
have to suffer to learn, otherwise it's just a hobby or something. You're not growing, right? Even at the gym, if you go and all the work is useless till the point you actually start suffering, right?
It's
That's when
no
the
pain,
growth happens.
no gain. No pain, no
Exactly.
gain.
Uh, exactly. And the second thing is that, what Phil said, just adding to that, in our courses also, people say that, oh, I can get all the material that you're teaching. I can have an LLM or somebody, create that material for me. What extra am I gaining, right? So it's about responsibility, right? That people do not pay us because of the information we provide. Information is free, you can get it anywhere, right? People pay us because we take responsibility for teaching them, right? If they have questions, we are there to answer the questions, right? So that responsibility, similarly, you are not getting paid to write code maybe, but you are responsible for the code, and that is what you'll be paid for.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Well said.
absolutely.
Said.
Well, I think that a unanimous agreement is a great way to end the show here. Satya, you want to take us home? First, Jody, check, where can folks find you on the internet if are y'all on LinkedIn?
Yeah, on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Blue Sky. I can chuck my socials in the chat.
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my inbox is open. Also, from my website, you can find me everywhere with all my cool stuff.
Nice.
Excellent. All right. Take us home, Doc.
All right. Thanks, Czech. Thanks, Jody, for this amazing presentation. We learned a lot. There were a few things that I did not even know were part of PyCharm. So that was amazing to learn. And thank you, our audience. And above all, Phil Nelson, thank you for organizing the show. As always, nothing went wrong.
So far, there's still time for something to fall over. Thank you, Satya. Thank you to our incredible guests. This was a great episode of the show. I learned stuff, and I feel like that's always really that's why we're all here, so Phil can learn. You're my court appointed guardians here on the show. Next week, I think. Next week we do not have a guest booked yet, Satya. Do you think maybe we might do another OpenCV tutorial? It's been a little over a month.
Yeah, we will definitely do an OpenCV tutorial.
Okay, great. So tune in next week, Thursday, 9 a.m., same bat time, same bat channel to OpenCV Live. We will see you then. Take care of yourselves out there. Take care of somebody else if you can, and have a great day wherever you may be.